to another episode of Zen with Benefits. I am your host, Jesus, as some people know me, Jesus the Masseuse. And what better time than now to basically talk about taking care of yourself. And when you're a massage therapist, self-care is a big topic, not just for ourselves, but as well as for clients. You know, everybody needs a little bit of self-care, and we all kind of have our unique ways of attaining that. And so if you are watching on video, if you are not, first of all, find me on YouTube at Nor Left Massage, the YouTube channel, or you can find me in other places on social media. Doesn't matter. But anyway, if you can see on the video, I'm showing a couple of tools that I use for my personal self-care. And I do try to take care of myself. Lately, I've been kind of falling off a little bit. And so this quarantine season that we're going through is good because I get to rest a little bit. I get to rest my hands a little bit. But also, I have to find a way to keep practicing. I have to find a way to continue working on myself. And so, again, as you can see, there's a couple of tools in front of us that I'm definitely going to be talking about. And I think it's going to be fun. So the first thing I want to start with, and I think one of the most obvious ones, is the ROLEO. The ROLEO massager is basically just a contraption that has two small rollers, and you're able to adjust pressure to it. And all you do is you kind of push your hand through the two rods, and I usually take it up to the elbow, and literally all it is just a compression. It's just pressure. If you do a lot of stuff with your arms and you're just tight and tense, it's a good way to just relieve quick tension. It doesn't necessarily fix anything per se. And I typically use the ROLEO at the end of my day if I have a long day, a long busy day. And but if I don't, I don't really need it because I can stretch, or I have other means, or I just don't hurt in that way. But definitely it's a beauty to have. It's such a cool thing to have around when I have nobody else to basically compress my arms and my hands. And if you know me personally, you know that I'm always kind of extending my hand out for people to kind of squeeze on it. And I just like that. Get a little bit of love back from the people, you know. So that's the ROLEO basically. That's pretty much all I know about it. I'm not going to go too much into depth about it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but it is a very nice tool if you're a massage therapist and you've never tried something like this. I definitely encourage you to look into it, because it's just a tool for those moments, those moments where it's just burning because you've had a long day or whatever, and it's just a good way to give your arms and forearms a little bit of compression. So it's not that big a deal. So that's the ROLEO. And then the other contraption that you'll see in front of you is this guy. And this is called a THERACANE because it's a cane and it's therapeutic. And if you can see all of these places to kind of grab a hold of. So basically what you do is this here goes, there's a loop right at the cane aspect of it. And at the end of that, it turns into like a little ball or a little sphere. And these are basically for you to find those spots. It could either be a trigger point or just a knot or just where a muscle is kind of spasming out on you. And what you can do is you can grab a hold of the bottom of the cane here. The top loop goes over your shoulder. And typically what I do is with the hand on top, I pull down to add pressure to my body. And then the hand on the bottom is it's pushing out to create that pressure exactly where I want it. It feels really good. And it's really good for if you want to get into the neck. It's a really good tool to really get after deeper structures of your body, right? So like the difference between the ROLEO and this would be the ROLEO just gives you pressure, and that pressure allows blood to circulate, but it doesn't do very much. Now, you can't really hone in on, if you have a knot or something like that. And sometimes, you can only bring the ROLEO up to your elbow. After that, because of the structure of the elbow joint, you have to be really careful if you want to go past it. I've heard of some people going past the elbow. I don't recommend it, honestly, because it doesn't do a lot for the upper arm, but for the forearm and the hand, it's really, really good just to kind of give that pressure. But when you talk about the THERACANE allows you to get deeper into the body, and it allows you to really hone in. So instead of just focusing on a broad muscle group with the THERACANE, you can go into a direct pressure point or trigger point and really kind of work that knotted area out really well with this. And also you're able to get a little more pressure out of the THERACANE. The ROLEO does have adjustable pressure once you roll in between the two rods, and you can go kind of in and out with it. And it's cool. There's different things that I do. I don't just kind of go in and out with it. Like, I'll find a good tight spot on my forearm and I'll move my hand around, and that makes the forearm muscles fire. And as they move around, it kind of creates more and less pressure, and it creates that milking effect that massage naturally causes on the body. That milking effect is what takes all those toxins out of your body. So the THERACANE is more so for those tight knotted muscles and trigger points and more specific areas. And it's just a great tool to get into the back. It's also a great tool to get into your own lower back. And as I showed here, you can also get it directly onto your neck, side of your neck, the back of your neck. I'm hitting the microphone here. And so it's just a really, really good tool. And I use these all the time. Now, the ROLEO I typically keep in my massage studio. And I used to also keep the THERACANE, but I had a client, if he's watching, who made a joke that it just it looks like a weird contraption, and and it was meant to be funny, but it made me self-conscious because he kind of was like, what is this sex toy about? And I was like, I don't want to have anything that resembles a sex toy in my massage room. And I'm sure he was just kidding, but anyway, I kind of realized it may not look so good to have it in there. I don't know. And so I just keep it in at home. So I keep the THERACANE at home, and I keep the ROLEO at my studio, for those moments at the end of the day. Jesus, dripping all over myself. So, as I'm sure you know, and you're sick and tired of hearing, because as am I, we're all under quarantine lately due to the coronavirus outbreak. And so we're all stuck at home. Most of us are stuck at home. Some of us are, or some of you are out there still doing your work, and a lot of you are appreciated. Um, and it's funny because I am noticing people that are considering themselves essential and considering their services essential. And when all of this first started, I was leaning towards considering myself an essential worker. And and there's a couple of reasons why I was okay doing that. One of those reasons being, um, at my office or my massage studio, I rent a space where it's literally just a massage room, and that's it. It doesn't include a lobby, or it doesn't include anything. And when I see a client, it's just me and one person. So foot traffic is extremely low, and I'm not like out in public. This is a private building where you need to have access to get into the building. And so at first I was thinking, I am going to consider myself an essential worker and continue to see clients. Um, and so I sent out a newsletter basically saying I have decided that I'm going to continue to operate the business, but what I was going to do was limit the amount of clients I saw per day. Um, so have more time in between clients to really clean up the area really well. And I added one thing to my cleaning regimen, because I have a good cleaning regimen anyway, and that was basically, I bought Lysol and I would spray it before and after every client. Um, and and I'm not a Lysol person, but I did it because I needed to have something extra to do, to intentionally clear out any potential toxins or anything like that. And so I was doing that, and it was good. Um, and then literally maybe 2 or 3 days after I sent out that newsletter to my clients, we get the notice from the governor of Washington State, basically shutting everything down. And so when that happened, I still felt as though I can remain open. I am going to consider myself an essential worker, and I'm going to continue working because limited foot traffic, cleaning is top notch, yada 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 yada. So at the end of the day, I could have had 101 reasons why I could stay open. Um, but then I felt guilty. And I didn't feel guilty like I'm doing something wrong. I It was more of a feeling of like I'm trying to find a loophole to get around this thing, um because I can get away with it, or because I'll get away with it, and then if anything happens at the end, like, I'll just deal with it. One thing I always say is, it's not a problem until it's a problem. But I decided that there's a difference between me feeling like I actually provide a life-saving service, and me being selfish and want to continue working and making money. And never in my life do I do things where I feel shady. So if that ever happens, like, if I ever do something that I then look back on and think, ugh, that's a little shady, like, I don't feel right, and I don't practice doing those things. And that's what it felt like to me to continue operating my business, even though I only see one person at a time. 80% of my clients are nurses and doctors and emergency responders and things like that. And as much as I want to be there for my clients, I can't help but think that I wouldn't be helping the situation at all. I wouldn't be helping the situation by continuing to work. I mean, I can convince myself that I'm doing something great. I can convince myself that I'm risking my life to help others, right? Um, and I do have clients that need to see me on a weekly, bi-weekly basis sometimes, and I do have clients that I actually help. But in times like these, I don't know if I'm helping. I don't know that continuing to practice would be not the smart thing, would be the responsible thing to do, right? So I'm just trying to be responsible and accountable to my own actions. And then I started just realizing that, honestly, if I overlooked all those things, if I said, whatever, I'm just gonna do it, like, no harm, no foul, whatever, I'll do it. I couldn't help but think, well, what if I did contract the virus? What if not only that, but I expose a lot of different people to it? I just didn't want to have that kind of hanging over over my head. So I decided to shut down. I decided to shut down and return on April 7th. Um, but as of today, which I believe is like, I don't know. I don't even know what day it is, honestly. I think they just extended everything to the end of April. And so now when that happens, I totally understand. And I also totally understand people's panic around that. And so now I'm having to kind of rethink things, because now I have to think about a strategy. What am I going to do? I can, what are any of us going to do? But anyway, the business is shut down, and I'm just anxious and excited to get back in, and for life to get back to normal, and for me to just go back to having a busy day of massaging people. That's all I want. This is literally, this profession is something that makes me happy. And I know that massage helps different people at different levels for different reasons. And it is important. It is essential work. But it mustn't be out of being selfish, And I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be a selfish person and continue operating my business all because I could, you know? I didn't feel that was the responsible thing to do. So I'm shut down until maybe until the end of April. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know what Washington State is going to order, if they're going to order until the end of April, or I don't know what's going on. So, um, this whole coronavirus thing is so crazy. I'm so tired of hearing about it. I'm so tired of watching, the updates, and it's all the same BS. It's all the same. It's all the same not information. And I think that we all know, whether you're on the right or on the left, if you're red or blue, if you're black or white, or if you're an immigrant, or if you're a citizen, if whatever. I think that at the end of the day, there's certain things that we can agree on, and that is that we need to acknowledge that there's people out there that don't care about other people, but also we need to acknowledge that when it comes to humanity, like, we're all we've got. And it's just really sad to see how some people are so quick to take advantage of certain things, and people freak out. I mean, I get it, man. I luckily don't have children. I don't have kids. I'm not married yet. And so the panic for me is minimal. The panic for me is more so, I think that it's going to be a very slow pickup. And ideally, I think we all want to see, like, the first day we come back, I'm wishing and hoping that my schedule will be full for about a month, right? And people booking ahead, and then kind of just filling up like that. That is the ideal thing to want, but it's probably not going to happen because people are recovering. Everybody's recovering. So we're all going to be recovering slowly. And so there's a couple of things that I plan on doing once I come back to business and back to work, back to business as usual. And one thing that I have been doing, excuse me, one thing that I have been doing is first time clients. So when a person comes to see me for the very first time, they automatically get $25 off of the cost of the massage. And, excuse me. And then I also have incentives for existing clients. And I usually, because I do have clients that are younger in college and things like that. And so to them, I'll say things like, bring me a paying client and you get a free massage, right? So that paying client is getting a $25 discount on their first visit, and they have just earned a free session for the person that referred them. In my mind, I just want to keep people coming in for massage and realizing that massage helps them in whatever ailment or whatever focus they have. Aside from my clients that are nurses, doctors, and emergency responders and things like that, the other big portion of my clients are athletes and people that lift, and very strong people, but also younger people, and I don't I know that I'm not going to get rich off of one person or the handful of clients that I have. I don't want to get rich off of them. What I want is for them to keep me in business for 15 years. I try to make my prices as fair as possible. I look at everything around the area where I'm at, and I kind of try to find a fair price that doesn't downplay my work, but also I'm not taking people's wallets. That's very important for me. Um, I want to provide a good service at a fair price just so that I can continue doing what I love for another 15 years and hopefully more. And that's all I want. So, going through this quarantine and social distancing and all of that, um, now more than ever, I know that for a lot of people, touch is very important. And a lot of people are going to be needing massage, but also a lot of people are probably going to develop some trust issues. I already see in people automatically uh, staying 6 feet away, even if we're walking in the same direction or something like that. I've been noticing how people kind of get out of the way, and you know, I'm sure it's scary, man. It's scary for a lot of people. Nobody wants to be infected by the virus. And it sounds horrible. For a lot of people, it's the flu. For a lot of other people, it's detrimental. It's the end. And so I think that we have to find a good balance between taking care of those that are vulnerable, which is why we're staying home, and also making sure that we're going to have a life after this, making sure that we're doing what we can for others so that we can continue living the way we were. you know um, hopefully there's some things that change. I love how pollution has been changing a lot in while we're all in quarantine. I really love that. That shows how much of a cancer we are on this planet. Just the things we need. And I can't help but appreciate what we're going through together, because it allows us to slow down a little bit, pump the brakes a little bit, and get to a nice, comfortable speed, click on that cruise control, and just cruise. We've been moving too fast, man. I don't know if you notice, but I notice just day to day, everything just feels so much faster. Um, in my opinion, I think that a lot of that has to do with social media. Social media can be very bad to our our essence, our energies, our all of that, man. It can be very, very draining. When when watching something on a phone can really control your emotions and things like that. It's really something to kind of look into, which is what I've basically been doing in quarantine, is studying my personal habits and how I use technology and things like that, and realizing that it's a great tool for other things. I don't know. It's just the stuff that I've been thinking. I'm sure, like you, we've all been doing a lot of thinking, stuck in our houses and stuck in your room, in our studios, in our, whatever it might be. And if you're not, you better get on the train, man, because those of you that don't care, those of you that are like, it's, I'm gonna do me or whatever, however you think of it. Um, you is what's causing this to become a longer thing that it needs to be. You know, I think that if from the get go, if everybody would have been on top of it and would have been responsible, it probably wouldn't be where we're at. Probably, I don't know. Um, but I do know that I personally have to do what I can to keep myself safe and healthy so that I keep others around me, like my family, safe and healthy. And so, which is a big reason why I closed down the business until further notice. So, um, but this is a massage therapy podcast, and so we have to talk about massage. And one of the great things about massage is that you can actually see the changes that you are creating sometimes. Um, a lot of the times you don't see the change until the end when the client's like, "Oh my God, I feel 1,000 times better," or whatever. Um, and there are certain techniques that they work almost immediately. I love having those moments when somebody comes in with limited range of motion and I do certain techniques and things, and we slowly start seeing that range of motion increase, and now they can move their shoulder a little bit more, and they can move it more with less pain, and they can move it more in the other direction, and all of those. I love those things. I love being able to create those things um, in other people's lives. A couple years ago, my niece was pregnant, and it was her first baby. She's young. I think she was like 23, something like that. And for some reason, her pregnancy, everything in her body was swollen, and her ankles were huge. Her feet were huge. She walked around, kind of bow-legged, but her ankles were huge. And um, and so I was telling her about this specific type of massage technique that helps the body drain out all of those uh, the excess fluid in a certain body part or body or area of the body. And so basically I started working on one ankle, one foot. Just started working on that. She was laying down, and I think maybe less than 10 minutes, we literally saw a change. We saw a change in her ankle. It went back to normal while the other one was all big and puffy, and it had a little bit of edema, so you can kind of poke it, and you could see the indentation on it. And so just I started demonstrating for her and on her what is called lymphatic drainage massage. And it was just magical, and her reaction was awesome too. Her kind of going like, "Oh my God, like what?" And it was just awesome. So lymphatic drainage is a specific technique that facilitates the body's ability to circulate certain fluids from your body. Okay, so I have a couple of notes here, so we'll read some of these. So lymphatic drainage is a therapeutic massage treatment. The massage uses very light pressure and long, gentle, rhythmic strokes to increase the flow of lymph and reduce toxins in your body. The lymph system is part of your body's immune system, and it helps fight infections. So basically, when you're suffering from inflammation, that's your body creating an excess uh, um, amount of fluid that is carrying white blood cells that are there to kill any um, either viruses, bacteria, or other gunk floating around in your bloodstream. And it's very superficial to your body, and you'll usually find it more in certain creases. So in the pit of your elbow, in your armpits, in your groin area, in the back of the knees, and so what you do is you very lightly and gently direct this excess amount of fluids to those specific areas, where then that will drain to the main lymphatic system, and it basically helps clean out your body from excess amount of fluid. Okay. A lot of the times that fluid's going to have certain things like lactic acid or some bacteria or some, or a lot of the times it just helps circulate um, those fluids around so that they're not just restrained to one area of your body. A lymphatic drainage massage uses very light pressure and long rhythmic strokes that gets the lymph fluid moving and directs the toxins into the organs that can properly remove them. One of the typical organs in that is the kidneys. The kidneys basically soak in all of that bacteria and like used up blood, dead red blood cells, things like that, and throws them into the kidneys. And then after the massage, you go and pee, or after the massage, the day after, or whatever. Your body's still cleansing out of those things. I've performed lymphatic drainage massage on people that come in with a cold. And what it does is that it basically speeds up the process in which your body eliminates that virus from your body. And it really does help stimulate and optimize our body's immune system. And so, lymphatic drainage has to be done with the intent of directing fluids from one area to another. So the actual performing of this massage technique can be kind of tedious because it's very specific. So like if we were to take my forearm, right? The stroke is basically kind of like a wave, but the direction that you're working in is from distal to proximal. So from the most distant part of your body to the closest part of your body. And with kind of a wave motion, you go from distal to proximal, and you just keep that going. You do that a bunch of times. And it's very gentle because the lymphatic system is very, very superficial. The lymphatic system is a great way to help your nervous system, your immune system just become more aware of what's going on. It helps clear out a lot of things so your body doesn't have to overwork itself in keeping you from getting sick or anything like that. So it's just a good way to kind of clean out the body. So that's lymphatic drainage. Next time you go and get a massage after this whole COVID-19 thing is over, I strongly suggest we all go and get a lymphatic drainage massage, because after this whole ordeal, we all are going to need to optimize our immune system. Okay. And this is a great way to, in my opinion, get back on the table, for most of us to get that healthy touch, get some actual work done on our bodies. And it's a great way to no longer socially distance ourselves from each other. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for after coronavirus pandemic is over. I think that after this, we all need to slow down and kind of reteach ourselves how to live. Well, this has been so interesting. I want to thank you for joining me. If you're just now finding me, go and listen to my other episodes. There's some interesting things going on. My name is Jesus. This is Zen with Benefits.